Gabriel didn't look like much that day. His slippers were dusty, and his once white shirt had seen better days. As he stood in front of the grand restaurant called the Lion's Feast, people passing by looked at him like he was lost. He wiped his forehead with the back of his hand and pushed the door open. A sharp, cold air rushed out to meet him. Inside, the floors shone like a mirror. Laughter floated in the air. Fine men and women, dressed in silk and lace, sat around tables eating food that smelled like heaven. Gabriel smiled to himself. Today, he was going to celebrate. Before Gabriel could take 2 steps in, a short man with a stomach like a drum blocked his way. "Where do you think you're going?" he asked, looking Gabriel up and down like he was a cockroach. "I want a table, sir," Gabriel said politely. The man laughed, a loud, ugly laugh that made 3 women nearby turn and giggle. "Table? Here." He shook his head. "This place is for people who can pay, not beggars looking for leftovers." Gabriel's face burned, but he said nothing. He simply turned around and walked out, the sound of their laughter following him onto the hot street. Gabriel sat on a low concrete fence a few meters from the restaurant and opened his leather wallet. Inside, he counted his money carefully. It wasn't much, just enough for a simple meal if he wanted to continue living like a regular man. But Gabriel wasn't a regular man. He tucked the money back and smiled a small smile. They thought they had insulted a nobody. They didn't know the story behind his dusty slippers. As the sun dipped behind the tall buildings, Gabriel brought out an old Nokia phone. He dialed a number only 3 people in the city knew. "Hello, Mr. Benson?" Gabriel said when the call connected. "Gabriel, is it time?" A heavy voice answered excitedly. "Yes," Gabriel said, standing up. "Call the agents. I want to buy the building. Full payment. No stories." There was a short silence. Then a laugh. "As you wish, sir. The owner will cry blood when he hears the offer." Gabriel wiped his face again and smiled. Tomorrow was going to be a different kind of day. Gabriel wasn't always poor. 5 years ago, he was one of the brightest brains in the city. A quiet man who built a tech company from a small kiosk. While others were chasing shiny cars and noisy lifestyles, Gabriel had spent his days and nights building his dreams silently. When the offers came, he sold his company for enough money to feed a whole village for 20 years. But Gabriel didn't like noise. He liked to live free, with dusty slippers and a smiling face, unnoticed by the world. Today, though, he was about to make a little noise. Early the next morning, Gabriel stood across the street, his hands tucked in his pockets. He watched as fancy cars pulled into the Lion's Feast once again. Men with gold watches. Women with shining wigs. Nobody paid attention to the man in the faded jeans. Nobody guessed that their morning was about to become a story they would tell for years. A black Prado Jeep rolled up in front of the building. 2 men in dark suits stepped out. One held a leather briefcase. The other, a folded sheaf of papers. The show was about to start. Inside the Jeep, Mr. Benson flipped through the papers one last time. "Are you sure you don't want to step in, sir?" he asked, peeking at Gabriel through the window. Gabriel shook his head. "Let them enjoy the shock properly." Mr. Benson chuckled, then grabbed the briefcase and walked into the Lion's Feast. Within 15 minutes, papers were signed, the building was sold, and nobody inside had any idea that the ground under their feet now belonged to the same man they chased away. In the restaurant, the manager, Mr. Alfred, finally noticed the men in suits. He adjusted his belt nervously and walked over. "Good morning, gentlemen. Can I help you?" The man with the briefcase smiled. "You're speaking to your new landlord," he said, dropping a brown envelope into Alfred's hand. The manager's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. "New landlord?" "Yes," the man said calmly. "Starting today, everything here belongs to Mr. Gabriel." Alfred felt the world tilt under his feet. News spread like wildfire across the restaurant. The same customers who laughed when Gabriel was thrown out yesterday now stared at each other, confused. "Which Gabriel?" A woman in a green dress whispered. "The same man you were laughing at," a waiter whispered back. One by one, heads turned toward the door, half expecting Gabriel to walk in like a king. But he didn't. Not yet. Gabriel knew patience was sweeter than anger. As Mr. Alfred panicked inside, Gabriel leaned against a mango tree outside, watching. He remembered the shame he felt when they pushed him out yesterday, the hot eyes, the heavy heart. But today he didn't feel hate. He only felt amused. The world had a funny way of turning, sometimes faster than you expected. By noon, the story had already left the street and entered the town. Phones buzzed. Groups gathered under trees, at salons, even inside Danfo buses. Have you heard? The man they insulted bought the whole building. Chai! Money is silent, but it moves mountains. Some people laughed, some people shook their heads. But everyone agreed. Whoever looked down on Gabriel yesterday was now eating silent pepper soup today. Mr. Alfred locked himself inside his tiny office, sweat pouring down his face. The restaurant's real owner had always bragged about his business empire. Now he had sold the building without even warning them. And the worst part? The nobody they mocked now had the power to throw them out anytime he wanted. Around 2 p.m., Gabriel crossed the road slowly and walked back into the Lion's Feast. This time nobody blocked him. In fact, the same short man with the big stomach ran forward, bowing like a goat tied to a stick. Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. Right this way. Gabriel smiled and sat at a corner table. No drama. No shouting. Just a simple lunch for a simple man. When the waiter brought the menu, Gabriel didn't even look at it. 1 plate of jollof rice, please, he said, smiling. The waiter nodded so fast his head nearly fell off. Gabriel rested back and watched the same people who once sneered at him now sneaking glances, their faces full of shame. Life was sweet when served cold. After eating, Gabriel stood up and cleared his throat. The restaurant grew silent like a church. Good afternoon, Gabriel said calmly. As the new owner of this building, I have a few simple rules. Chairs squeaked as people leaned closer. 1, Gabriel continued. Nobody will ever be judged here by how they dress. Respect first. Always. Heads nodded quickly. Even the proud ones. Then Gabriel turned to Mr. Alfred. And you, he said. Mr. Alfred almost peed on himself. You're fired, Gabriel said gently. Effective immediately. Gasps filled the room. Mr. Alfred's legs shook like leaves in a storm. But sir, please. I didn't mean, he started. Gabriel raised one hand. You treated a stranger badly. You shamed a man for no reason. Find another job. Gabriel didn't shout. He didn't insult anybody. He spoke quietly, like a man talking to his friends. Today you all learned something, he said. Not every poor-looking man is poor. And not every rich-looking man is rich. He thanked them politely, paid for his food, and walked out. And that's when the real fire began. Outside the restaurant, the street was boiling. Some cheered for Gabriel. Some envied him silently. Who does he think he is? One man grumbled. Money has entered his head, another woman said. But deep down they all knew the truth. Gabriel had played the perfect hand, and he didn't even raise his voice to do it. That evening, Gabriel's phone didn't stop ringing. Old classmates he hadn't heard from in 10 years. Distant cousins. People he barely knew. Gabriel, my brother. Gabriel, you remember me, nah? Gabriel, a beg, let's hang out. He laughed to himself and turned the phone off. When you succeed, even strangers will claim your mother's womb. Gabriel sat on the rooftop of the building that night, drinking a cold bottle of malt. The city lights blinked below him like 1,000 tired eyes. Buying the building wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about building something bigger, a place where dignity lived, not just money. Tomorrow, he would start the real work. But tonight, he allowed himself one soft smile and one simple thought. This is just the beginning. Early the next morning, Gabriel walked around the building with a notepad. He touched the walls, checked the kitchen, opened dusty storerooms. He wasn't just planning to own the Lion's Feast. He was planning to transform it into the best restaurant the town had ever seen. One built on respect, not pride. He called an old friend, Kingsley, who had become an architect in the city. Kingsley, my brother. Gabriel laughed over the phone. I get work for you. Kingsley arrived the next day, wearing sunglasses and holding blueprints. Gabriel, na who die? You want to turn this small building to palace. Gabriel grinned. Exactly. The renovations started immediately. Walls came down. The ugly signboard was removed. Broken chairs were thrown out. The street watched in shock. Gabriel is serious. Oh, this building go fine die when he finish. The sound of hammering became the new music of the neighborhood. But not everyone was happy. Across the street, a group of old men sat under a tree gossiping. Is it not that same Gabriel that used to beg for transport money? Tomorrow now, he will think he's better than all of us. Jealousy is cheap. It doesn't need invitation. Among the haters was Chief Godswill, the richest man on the street before Gabriel returned. He hated how people now talked about Gabriel like he was the king. That boy needs to be put back in his place, Chief Godswill muttered. And quietly he started planning. After 3 months of hard work, Gabriel reopened the restaurant. He named it the People's Feast. The soft launch was packed. Young, old, rich, poor, everybody was welcome. The smell of jollof, fried chicken, and sweet spices floated into the air like perfume. Gabriel sat quietly at a corner table, watching faces. Some were old schoolmates. Some were former enemies pretending to be friends. He smiled gently. He knew not to trust every handshake. Success attracts flies and butterflies. It's your job to know which is which. Meanwhile, Chief Godswill made a move. He sent spies to spread rumors. They whispered lies into people's ears. Gabriel's food day make people sicko. He used jazz to buy the building. Lies travel faster than the truth when fueled by envy. One rainy afternoon, a man in a brown suit stormed into the People's Feast with a team. He flashed a badge. "We are here for inspection," he barked. Customers looked around, confused. Gabriel stood calmly and smiled. He had nothing to hide. The inspectors checked everywhere: the kitchen, the toilets, the storage. After 2 long hours, their leader shook his head. "This is the cleanest restaurant I have seen this year." They left without finding a single fault. The haters' plan had failed again. But Chief Godwill wasn't done. He started calling secret meetings in his compound at night. "This boy must be stopped," he told the angry faces around him. Jealousy had blinded them. They didn't know Gabriel wasn't just running a restaurant. He was building an empire. Gabriel wasn't wasting time. He had bigger plans. A bakery attached to the restaurant. A children's playground beside the outdoor space. A free meal day every Sunday for street kids. Money wasn't his only goal. Legacy was. One evening, a black Mercedes parked outside the People's Feast. A woman stepped out, tall, confident, beautiful. Gabriel's heart skipped a beat. It was Princess, his old crush from secondary school. And she wasn't here for food. Over a cup of Zobo, Princess smiled at Gabriel. "I heard you're doing wonders here," she said, crossing her legs. Gabriel chuckled. "Not small work." "I have a proposal," Princess said. "Let's expand. Open 2 more branches together." Gabriel stared at her, wondering if it was love or business in her eyes. But something about Princess's sudden sweetness bothered Gabriel. He remembered how she once mocked him for not having a bicycle. Now she wanted partnership. People love finished products, not the factory process. Gabriel thanked her warmly but said no. "I need to build this on my own first," he said. Princess smiled tightly. She wasn't used to hearing no. As she walked away, Gabriel knew he had made the right choice. Weeks later, around midnight, Gabriel's phone buzzed. "Boss, come quick," his security guard shouted. Gabriel rushed down to the restaurant. The bakery section was on fire. Flames licked the sky. Smoke blackened the stars. Someone had set it on fire. Neighbors poured out with buckets and sand. Water splashed. Ash flew. Gabriel's hands blistered, but he didn't stop fighting. By morning, the bakery was half burnt. But the main building survived. Bruised, battered, but not broken. The police came and asked questions. Gabriel told them everything. About Chief Godswill's threats, the gossip, the envy. The officer nodded slowly. "Enemies everywhere. We will find them," he promised. But Gabriel didn't wait for justice. He went back to work immediately. A month later, the bakery reopened, bigger, brighter, stronger. The fire had only made Gabriel smarter, tougher, wiser. If they thought they could break him, they had just given him more reason to succeed. Gabriel smiled at the rebuilt building and whispered, "This is still just the beginning." After rebuilding, Gabriel's name spread even faster. Magazines, radio stations, bloggers. Everybody wanted to interview him. From beggar to boss. Man who bought the restaurant that once rejected him. His story was the sweet gossip the whole town couldn't get enough of. One evening, while Gabriel was supervising a delivery, a shiny black Prado Jeep pulled up. Out stepped Senator Okonkwo, one of the most powerful men in the region. "Young man," he said, offering his hand. "I want to invest in your dream." Gabriel wiped his palms and shook it. The senator offered him a blank check. "Expand. Build 10 branches. I'll fund everything." It was tempting. Gabriel thought of how far he had come, and how easy it would be to lose control if he wasn't careful. He asked for time to think. Meanwhile, Chief Godswill grew desperate. His shops were empty. His once famous events were half attended. Everyone wanted to be seen at the People's Feast instead. Like a drowning man, Godswill decided to pull Gabriel down, even if it killed him. One rainy night, Chief Godswill sent 2 fake customers to the restaurant. Their plan was simple. Plant rotten meat in the kitchen and call health officials. But Gabriel's kitchen was tighter than a drum. They were caught red-handed. The police dragged them away like stray goats. The news scattered across town like dry harmattan leaves. Some people clapped for Gabriel. Some people whispered, "He is too lucky. Maybe he's using juju." Small minds always fear what they can't understand. But Gabriel stayed focused. Brick by brick, he built higher. One hot Saturday, Princess showed up again, this time with tears in her eyes. "Gabriel, please, I made a mistake." "I miss you," she sniffled. Gabriel looked at her, silent. He wasn't sure if she missed him, or the empire he was building. Against his better judgment, Gabriel agreed to have a private dinner with her. They laughed about old school memories. She touched his hand across the table. For a moment, it felt real. Or maybe it was just loneliness playing tricks. After the dinner, Gabriel couldn't sleep. Was Princess genuine? Or was she sent by his enemies? In business and love, trusting the wrong person could destroy everything. He decided to watch, not rush. Senator Okonkwo visited again, this time with a team of lawyers. "I want to be a silent partner," he said. "You run things. I just invest." Gabriel smiled. This time he agreed. But he made sure the contract left him 100% in control. With new funds, Gabriel opened 2 new branches. One in the busy Central Market. One beside the university campus. The buzz was crazy. Students flocked there like bees to honey. Gabriel's dream was no longer a dream. It was reality. Chief Godswill's hatred became venom. He started sponsoring armed robbers to attack Gabriel's delivery vans. Once, they hijacked a truck carrying bags of rice and crates of drinks. Gabriel didn't shout. He didn't cry. He just bought better security trucks and moved smarter. One evening, Gabriel overheard Princess on the phone behind the restaurant. "You think I care about that local boy?" she hissed. "I'm just waiting for him to propose so we can chop his money." Gabriel's chest tightened. The glass broke. When Princess walked back inside, Gabriel was waiting. He didn't scream. He didn't fight. He simply handed her an envelope with a one-way flight ticket inside. "Go find your happiness elsewhere," he said quietly. She left, without looking back. That night, Gabriel sat alone in his office. He remembered his hungry days, his sleepless nights, his fights, his scars. Not everyone clapping for you loves you. Not everyone hating you can stop you. He wiped his eyes and faced forward. Gabriel started planning something bigger. Not just food. Not just restaurants. He wanted a brand, schools, farms, factories. He wanted every poor boy in the village to dream bigger, because they saw Gabriel rise. But storms never warn you before they land. One morning, police sirens surrounded the people's feast. Gabriel's workers screamed. Customers scattered. The police marched in with a thick file. "You are under investigation for fraud," the officer announced. Someone had forged Gabriel's signature on shady business deals. Fake loans. Fake supplies. Fake contracts. And now, they wanted to drag Gabriel's name in the mud. Gabriel's head spun. But inside him, a small fire stayed burning. Gabriel hired the best lawyers in the city. The court drama lasted months. Reporters crowded the streets. People switched sides. But Gabriel stood tall, calm like the river, strong like the mountain. Truth is slow, but it always arrives. Finally, after months of sleepless nights, Gabriel was cleared. The judge slammed the gavel and said, "Mr. Gabriel is innocent." He was set up. The courtroom exploded in cheers. The truth had won. And Gabriel? He only smiled and went back to work. Because kings don't argue with peasants. They build castles. After winning the court case, Gabriel became even more popular. Newspapers called him the Iron Boy. TV stations begged him for interviews. But Gabriel wasn't moved. He just wanted peace, and to build quietly. One Monday morning, his secretary Ndidi brought him a plain brown envelope. No name. No address. Inside was a simple note. "The pasture running from is running faster than you." Gabriel's hands shook slightly. That night, Gabriel couldn't sleep. He remembered Mama Yuzo, the old woman who raised him after his parents died mysteriously. He remembered the dark night they disappeared. He had buried it for years. Now it was knocking again. For days, Gabriel noticed strange things. A black car parked near his estate every night. Unfamiliar faces watching from across the street. Anonymous calls that ended once he answered. Someone was stirring old waters. Gabriel traveled back to his village to see Mama Yuzo. She was old and frail now, but her eyes were still sharp. My son, she whispered, the truth is heavy. But it will set you free. Gabriel nodded. He was ready. Mama Yuzo told him everything. Gabriel's parents were once rich landowners. Jealous relatives poisoned them and stole their lands. Gabriel was smuggled out as a baby to save his life. He grew up thinking he was just a poor orphan. Gabriel returned to the city with a new fire in his chest. He wasn't just a hustler. He was the rightful heir to acres of land now filled with hotels and malls. He decided, quietly, to reclaim what was his. When word got out that Gabriel was preparing to fight for his inheritance, old enemies resurfaced. They sent him threats. They tried to bribe him. They even tried to frame him again. But Gabriel had grown wiser and harder. Gabriel hired the best land lawyers. He gathered documents, witnesses, old villagers. He moved silently like a hunter in the night. When you are cooking soup for kings, you don't blow whistle. Some of the people fighting Gabriel were his blood cousins. Men who once bounced him from their houses like a dog. Now they wore fine regalias, driving jeeps bought with stolen land. Gabriel felt no hatred. Only focus. The land case exploded. TV cameras crowded the court gate. Journalists called it the Battle of Blood and Land. Gabriel walked into court with a calm heart. No fear. No bitterness. Only destiny. The cousins brought fake papers, fake witnesses. Gabriel's team countered them one by one. Mama Yuzo appeared as a surprise witness, and her words crushed their lies like dry sticks. The courtroom buzzed with whispers. After weeks of battle, the judge gave the final verdict. All properties must be returned to Gabriel Chukwuma, the rightful heir. The cousins slumped like wet clothes. The courtroom exploded with joy. Gabriel stood still, tears blinding his eyes. Gabriel didn't evict the tenants on his new lands. He gave them better houses, built schools, opened health clinics. He turned pain into blessing. Because real kings don't punish. They plant trees for others to rest under. One afternoon, at the site of a new school, Gabriel met Peace, a beautiful, smart, no-nonsense architect. They clashed at first. She called him too proud. He called her too stubborn. But thunder meets thunder, and lightning follows. Peace was not like other women Gabriel had met. She didn't care about his money. She challenged his ideas. She made him laugh like a schoolboy. Slowly, like fire catching dry grass, love burned between them. Just as happiness started growing, Gabriel's enemies plotted again. They tried to kidnap Peace. Tried to blackmail Gabriel. But this time, Gabriel was ready. His security crushed them before they could blink. Gabriel wasn't the hungry boy anymore. One evening, under heavy rain, Gabriel knelt before Peace at the restaurant that started it all. "Peace, will you be my peace in this noisy world?" he asked, smiling shyly. She laughed, wiped her eyes, and said, "Yes, my king." Their wedding shook the whole region. Dignitaries flew in. Villagers danced from morning till night. The poor and rich feasted together. It wasn't just a wedding. It was a testimony that no matter how deep you fall, you can rise even higher. On their honeymoon, Gabriel stood on the balcony, holding Peace close. He looked at the stars and smiled. From beggar to landlord. From rejected to respected. But deep in his spirit, he knew. The journey was just beginning. Even with all his success, Gabriel couldn't shake the feeling. Sometimes at night, he woke up sweating. He felt like someone was watching him. Peace noticed too. But they laughed it off until something happened. One morning, Gabriel's lawyer called him in a panic. Important land documents had vanished from their office. Gabriel's heart dropped. Only a few people had access to those files, people he trusted with his life. After quiet investigations, the truth came out. It was Jude, Gabriel's childhood friend and business partner. Jude had been secretly selling Gabriel's lands behind his back. Greed had eaten deep into his soul. Gabriel felt broken. This was someone he slept beside on the street. Someone he shared his last Gary with. Now, for small money, Jude stabbed him. Gabriel didn't cry. He just stared at the ceiling for hours. Peace sat beside Gabriel, holding his hand. "My king, trust nobody fully. Not even me. Only God. But don't let this make you bitter. You are bigger than betrayal." Her voice was steady. Gabriel nodded slowly. Instead of arresting Jude immediately, Gabriel arranged a meeting. When Jude entered the room, he couldn't look Gabriel in the eye. "I trusted you," Gabriel said quietly. Jude burst into tears. But Gabriel just shook his head and walked out. Gabriel lost some lands. It hurt, but he refused to sink into anger. He worked harder, built smarter, moved faster. Scars make warriors, and Gabriel was becoming unstoppable. Months later, Peace gave birth to a baby boy. They named him Chimamanda. My God will not fail. Gabriel held his tiny son and promised, I will build a world you'll be proud of. Gabriel expanded beyond restaurants. He opened tech companies, real estate agencies, a construction firm. People started calling him the young lion of Africa. But Gabriel remained humble. He knew where he started from. One afternoon, Gabriel's phone rang. It was a direct call from the country's president. The government wanted Gabriel to lead a national youth empowerment program. Gabriel smiled. The boy they rejected was now the man they respected. Gabriel traveled to small villages, teaching youths how to build businesses. He set up free training centers. He remembered his days of begging and sleeping on benches. He swore no young dreamer would be abandoned again. But success attracts enemies. One night, someone set fire to Gabriel's new tech center. Flames danced into the sky. Gabriel stood there, fists clenched, heart burning. They wanted to break him. They would fail. Instead of mourning, Gabriel rebuilt. Bigger, better, brighter. You burnt my house? He told the newsman, smiling. I will build a city. And he did. Jude, sick and broke, came crawling back after years. Gabriel could have crushed him. Instead, he paid for Jude's hospital bills. He didn't forgive because Jude deserved it. He forgave because he deserved peace. Unknown to many, Peace had been battling a health issue. She kept it hidden so Gabriel wouldn't worry. But one evening, she fainted in his arms. Gabriel rushed her to the hospital, fear punching his heart. At the hospital, Gabriel sat by Peace's bed every night, praying, whispering, hoping. Riches meant nothing if he lost her. After weeks, Peace opened her eyes and smiled weakly. Gabriel broke into tears like a child. To celebrate life, Gabriel threw a grand festival. A free food, free medical checkups, scholarships for children. The poor, the old, the forgotten. They all danced and sang Gabriel's name. This was the true wealth. Gabriel refused to live for flashy things. No, he focused on building. Libraries, hospitals, youth hubs. He wanted a legacy that would echo long after he was gone. One rainy evening, Gabriel took his son to the restaurant where he was once humiliated. It was now his restaurant, the best in town. He sat at the very table he was once denied. He smiled at the waiter and said, Treat everybody well. You never know who will own the building tomorrow. Years later, Gabriel sat on his porch, old but strong. He watched Chimamanda, now a grown man, taking the empire even higher. Gabriel closed his eyes, smiling peacefully. From a hungry boy on the streets, to a king in his own story. And so the lion slept with a full heart.